What are the worst modern car features and trends that can cost you a fortune? That's what we're going to find out. Welcome to Car Help Corner, where we help you, the consumer, master the process of car buying and car ownership. I'm going to share 5 common car features and trends of new cars that cause major repair problems, headaches, and long-term repair expenses that can not only completely ruin your ownership experience, but can surprise you with shocking, unexpected costs. So let's begin with the first trend that's becoming increasingly common across the auto industry, and that is cars having touchscreens with no physical controls. On the surface, having a large touchscreen with a fancy user interface can seem nice and appealing, but there are many potential drawbacks to the setup that you need to be aware of. Firstly, touchscreens may look nice, but oftentimes they can be quite frustrating to use, turning simple tasks like adjusting your temperature into a multi-step process. Not only does this make simple tasks quite frustrating, but also potentially dangerous to do while driving the vehicle. And not only do touchscreens make simple tasks more complicated, but they also have another major problem, which is potential long-term repair concerns. If the screen freezes, crashes, or goes black, which is common with any computer system, there goes all your features. This can be an especially serious problem for those who live where there are harsh winter conditions. I mean, imagine your screen freezing or dying on a cold winter day when you need to turn on the heat or the defroster. And repairing a glitchy screen is not always straightforward either. If you're lucky, the solution is a simple reboot or software update. And if you're not, the repair could be far more complicated and costly. These screens can easily cost thousands of dollars to replace, and oftentimes having them repaired or diagnosed is not easy to do outside of the dealership. Sadly, using a large touchscreen to control everything in the car has become a lazy, cost-effective solution for automakers to give consumers all the features they crave, but with serious potential consequences. To be safe and make your ownership experience headache-free, seek out cars that still use a combination of physical controls and simple touchscreens that's primarily used just for media, which enough automakers thankfully still do. And it doesn't end there though. There's another even bigger problem with touchscreens that I'll get to later in the video. But first, let's move on to the next feature that you need to watch out for, another increasingly common trend in the auto industry, and that is new vehicles having extremely large wheels. It used to be normal for new cars to have reasonably sized wheels, anywhere from 16, 17, even 18 inches in size. Now though, it's a completely different story. Many modern cars have incredibly large wheels, 19, 20, 21, even 22 inches in size. And this can be a major problem for a few reasons. Having extra large wheels has a huge impact on the ride quality of the vehicle because the tires are extremely thin, so the car and its suspension components are taking the majority of the impact from all of the imperfections on the road, which can make the ride extremely uncomfortable. And not only that, but extra large wheels means extra cost when it comes to tire replacement and rim replacement if you damage any of those wheels while driving on the road, whether you hit a pothole or something else. Extra large tires are very, very expensive, and this can dramatically increase the cost of ownership of a lot of regular cars. Extra large wheels are also part of the reason why more and more modern cars no longer come with a spare tire, because a spare tire of that size simply would not fit in the car or would just be too expensive or add too much weight to the vehicle for it to make any sense. And there is another modern trend that's related to larger wheels and no spare tires that you need to be aware of that's also dramatically increasing the cost of ownership of new vehicles. And that is more cars coming with run-flat tires. For those who don't know, run-flat tires are designed to replace the need for having a proper spare tire. If you were to puncture the tires of a car that has run-flat tires, you can continue to drive the car with next to no air pressure because the sidewalls of the tires are extra reinforced to be able to continue driving, at least for several kilometers or miles, upwards of 100 miles or kilometers or so, until you can take the vehicle to a repair shop where you can repair or replace the run flat tire. Now, that might sound okay in theory, but run flat tires have a lot of major problems. They tend to be a lot noisier and rougher than normal tires because they are so incredibly stiff. They cost way more money to replace than normal tires, often twice the normal price. They often don't last as long, and when they do get damaged or punctured, oftentimes you can't repair them. You have to replace the entire tire. And this is why I always recommend when you're shopping for a new car, make sure that it has reasonably sized wheels. That's going to improve the ride quality, lower the cost of tire replacement, ideally one that comes with a spare tire, and stay away from run flat tires to avoid all the headaches that I mentioned. Okay, moving on to the next modern car feature that you need to be aware of that can be incredibly costly, and that is the trend of new cars coming with extra large panoramic roofs. As nice as they are to look at, panoramic roofs bring just as many drawbacks as they do benefits. Firstly, on some vehicle models, they have been known to shatter under certain conditions, which can obviously be a major safety hazard if it were to happen while driving. Another problem with them, at least the ones that open, is that they can often be more prone to jamming, breaking, or having drainage issues, which is something that can happen to any car with a sunroof, but tends to be even more problematic when it happens to a panoramic sunroof, because they are far more challenging and expensive to repair, often costing up to several thousands of dollars when things go wrong. And even the ones that don't open up have their own issues. It has become a common trend for many EVs to have fixed glass roofs, often without a sunshade, which can cause the interior to heat up pretty badly on hot summer days. So for all these reasons, it is always safest to go with a car that just has a regular sunroof instead of an extra large panoramic roof. Or at the very least, if it's a car that has a large glass roof, make sure that it has a proper sunshade. Okay, moving on to the next car features and trends in the auto industry that you need to be aware of, one that can be incredibly costly, and that's the trend of new cars having all kinds of emissions and fuel-saving technology. Depending on the vehicle, features that are designed to save fuel, such as engine start-stop systems, direct fuel injection, cylinder deactivation, turbocharged engines, CVT or DCT transmissions, all can have their own drawbacks, leading to more repair concerns and ultimately shortening the lifespan of the drivetrain. For example, on certain vehicles, direct injection can cause carbon buildup on the intake valves of the engine, requiring a costly carbon cleaning to prevent bigger problems. Engine start-stop can put more wear on engine components, not to mention being extremely annoying while in use. Cylinder deactivation can lead to major engine problems and even engine failure on certain vehicle models. And turbocharged engines, especially on very small displacement engines, such as 3 cylinders, can shorten the engine lifespan, or at the very least, require more out-of-warranty repairs. And DCT or CVT transmissions, they can have their own problems and premature failures too, depending on the vehicle. Now, are all of these fuel-saving emissions technologies automatically bad and should be avoided on every vehicle? Absolutely not. In fact, that's nearly impossible to do nowadays, and there are brands that know how to design these features so that they do not cause problems and fail. But generally speaking, it is safest to avoid as many of these features as possible to prevent long-term repair concerns. And make sure to research the vehicle that you're buying to make sure that if it does have any of these features, they are not common failure points. And that brings us to the final feature of the list, and perhaps the most serious one of all, and that is the trend of new cars coming with subscription-based features. This is a very troubling growing trend in the auto industry for companies to not only embed more and more features into the touchscreen or phone app, but also lock them behind a paywall that requires a monthly subscription. This trend really began with Tesla and is now spread across the industry to what most automakers call their connected services. For example, in order to use certain features inside of your car, such as the remote engine starter or the digital key through the phone app, or even the navigation system, you have to pay a monthly or annual subscription fee or pay for a separate data plan on a regular basis in order to unlock and use these features. Otherwise, they will not work at all. Usually, when the vehicle is brand new, these features are included for a free trial period. But after a few months or a year or so, you have to start paying up if you want to continue to use those features. And this is another reason why automakers love to eliminate physical controls and put all of the features into a touchscreen, because it gives them an opportunity to lock those features behind software until you pay for a subscription service, at which point they then unlock and allow you to use these features. It gives automakers basically a way to continue to charge you for things after they have sold you the vehicle. But this is something that we as consumers should not support and not stand for. Cars are expensive enough as it is, so whatever features you get should belong to you and not be locked behind a paywall. And as mentioned earlier, car companies putting more and more features into touchscreens where they require computer, software-based repair work is becoming an increasingly troubling trend in the auto industry. As cars become rolling computers, software updates are becoming the new form of maintenance, and automakers are just not very good at making it work. Many automakers just do not have the IT knowledge and expertise to repair these complicated systems when they go bad, and customers are often left waiting weeks, even months, waiting for a software update or another fix that will hopefully solve the problem. Make no mistake, this is becoming an increasingly common problem across the industry and causing enormous frustration and headaches for a lot of consumers. And I'll give you a perfect example of just how bad this can really get. Volvo recently launched the EX90, their new all-electric large SUV for 2025. Filled with new technology, features, and software which Volvo marketed as their latest and greatest. Only things went south very quickly. Many of the supposedly great new features just did not work. Many of the driver support and safety features, such as its fancy new LiDAR sensor, just did not work at all. Same goes for the digital key, which is supposed to allow you to use your phone as a car key, but again, would just be unreliable or completely fail. The touchscreen, which controls everything inside the car, was also known for freezing and blacking out. The Bluetooth, navigation, and media systems would fail, and countless other error messages and glitches, which in many cases would render the vehicles useless. And what was the result? Owners were left stranded, making payments on their $100,000 broken vehicles, while Volvo scrambled, testing all kinds of software updates to patch or fix problem after problem. Owners who have had enough have even taken legal action against Volvo. Ultimately, Volvo admitted their problems, and as a result, the 2026 EX90 are receiving sweeping new software and even hardware updates, including a new NVIDIA core computer system, which Volvo hopes will address many of the problems that this model has had. My question though is, how is any of this even remotely acceptable? How have we gotten to the point where automakers can engineer and design a new car with new technology so incredibly poorly and release it to consumers in this kind of condition? A condition I would describe as unfinished or incomplete, where the consumer is left being the guinea pig, having to deal with all these headaches under warranty. No question, automakers need to do much better, and consumers need to be smart with their money and not gamble on new, unproven technology. We, as consumers, need to show automakers that they need to build what we demand, which are reliable, well-designed cars that work properly, that don't have any flashy gimmicks, silly technology, or subscription-based features that nobody asks for. Thankfully, many new vehicles like that still exist, and if we all stick to them and avoid the other nonsense, automakers will cave in and give us what we want. So there you have it. I hope you found this information helpful, and if you have any stories to share with any of the features or technologies mentioned in this video, let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe. And if you are planning to purchase a vehicle and you live in Ontario, know that OMVIC is the vehicle sales regulator that's responsible for administering and enforcing the rules that dealerships must follow. To learn more about your consumer protection rights, visit omvic.ca. And if you need any additional car buying advice, recommendations, or help with getting a great deal on your next new car purchase, make sure to visit carhelpcan.com. Thanks so much for watching, and see you next time.